to the ODTA demonstration, so Open Data Trusted Encore project. So first, I will start on my local PC, a Ganesh CLI ledger. So let's start it. So as you can see, the Tenocon have been created, and I'm gonna use this mnemonic to import those key in my MetaMask wallet to connect to this ledger. So let's open my MetaMask. I am on Google Chrome. I click on the Ganesh, on the MetaMask. So switch network, this guy, and I'm gonna import a key. All right, I import my keys, which is the one you have seen. I put the passwords. And then I click restore. So as you can see, I have the Tenocon defined it in the Ganesh part. So now let's deploy the ODTA Solidity smart contracts. I am in the project directory, as you can see here, and I will simply run truffle migrate to deploy the ODTA smart contracts on the Ganesh CLI running locally on my computer. So we see it's compile, it's okay, then it's deploying the smart contracts. All right, and you see here deploying ODTA validator, which is the main entry point of my smart contract, and the smart contract address is the following one. Then I will run in my CLA, I'm in the project folder, and you will simply need to run the npm package to launch the npm web server package. So I start it, it will simply run a web server on the local host port 8000. So as you can see, it's running locally on the local host on port 80,000. Just copy paste this and place it in your Chrome browser. So you see automatically, thanks to Web3, my Meta wallets pop up and there is a request of connecting to the MetaMask from this wallet. So I select all the accounts which had the account defined it on Ganesh CLI. I click next and I connect. So from that moment, my MetaMask is connected to the Ganesh CLI, and my website also is using this MetaMask. So this demonstrator website is using behind a JSON file as defined it here. If you go in source data assets, you will find this file where you will find every open data asset as described in the specification. They have an ID, a name, so you have CO2 measure, temperature measure, a data asset ID, and the important part to play the demonstration, you have here the address of the data producer, which is the Ethereum address. So this is an important part. In order to simplify the demonstration, you will have as a first steps to replace those address with the address of your account on MetaMask. So I go to MetaMask, I copy paste my first account, I go back here and I will simply replace. Okay, this is my MetaMask address, and this is a previous test I had done, so I need to replace it. Yeah, and replace it on all instances. So you see now that the first asset as this account, the second one also as this account as producer, the third one also, the fourth one also, the fourth one also, and the fifth one, no. So for the fifth one, we will replace with the second Ethereum address we have here. So if I take this one, I take the second account, I copy, I select come here, I take the last asset and I put it as producer ID and then I save the file. From that moment, you can come back to the demonstrator and you can play the tests. So here, let's say I am the data producer 1. So I take it, which I assign to the all the 5 first data assets. So here, as you can see, I can refresh the page. You see that no data has been yet published on the ledger. You see no publish. So I'm going to publish this assets. I click on the publish button, then the MetaMask will pop up and it proposes to send a transaction to the ledger. I click confirm, and as you can see, uh, it's automatically published and you see the publisher ID and you have the information it's published. If you go in the MetaMask, you can see that the transaction had happened. I select the account, I have it, and you see here, if I click on it at 105, this is just now, there is a transaction from my account to the smart contract account. You can see it also here in the Ganache. We see the transaction. If you want to compare the value, okay, at 35, we have it here. Then, as you see, only this guy can see this asset. If I change the account and I put the second one, as you will see, I will update the page. This second account, if we look at here, given access not, so cannot see it. So given access to is set to nobody. So at this stage, only the publisher has access to it. So if I take back to the owner of the assets, I refresh the page, you see authorization access is true and it's given to myself. So now let's imagine that this first account want to give an access to the second account. It's quite simple. You will need to insert here the address of a second account. So let's take a second account. Here I copy the address. I come back to the owner because it's the only one that can give access to this CO2 measure. I put it here and then I specify that the authorization is true. Simply click on the set assets. What's going to happen is that this account, which is the owner of this data assets, and do you remember, it's the guy we push here. Here, as the owner, we have this address. So he's the only one able to do this. Then I will invoke the ledger to give the access to the second account at this value. So I confirm, click confirm. Transaction is down. You can see it here. If I go back, so you see the transaction just happened now at 109 is 109. So if I refresh this page and don't forget, I'm still on the first account, I refresh the page, you will see something has changed. Is that, sorry, you still need this value. So now I will swap and go to the second account and we will see that now this second account has access to this CO2 value. So you see now access authorization is set to true and it's the access has been given to that address. And as you can see, this is the address of this guy. So This demonstrator is just to illustrate you that a user can give access to another one, and normally, of course, in reality, when this access has been given, which is so everything is managed via smart contract, you can decide to show the user the different values, which are in our case the data asset value, like the CO2 value, the unit when it has been taken, and more important, because it was the purpose of the project, you can give the different proofs, like proofs of integrity of the data asset, proof of source authenticity, and proof of integrity. Now, this second asset, which is the temperature, the owner is the account one. So if I take the account number two here, I should not be able to publish. So if you click on publish, you see you have an error message making it will not work because you are prevented for doing it. So another nice things, if I take again the account one, which is the owner of the majority here, you see I have a free data asset. What does it mean? It means that if when it's published, it has a status few, and every user is authorized to see it. So I click it published, send it. Now you see it's published, and if I take whatever account, let's take the account number 4, and I refresh the page, what do we see? We see first that the account force has not access authorization to the CO2 measure 1 false, measure 2 false, false. And you see here, as this is a data asset of type 3, I have an access authorization set to true. So this is a nice feature for assets who you should just publish on the registry and everybody can access it. Here, this is just a simple demonstrator web interface to show you that we can perform the transaction on the ledger, but the idea would be to have an API in front of the ODTA registry smart contract so that you can interact with it and then you can catch from the registry the complete data assets information, where we are very interested in this case in those value as I mentioned to you. So this is more or less the demonstration for this ODTA registry. Thank you.